A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." And then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his home. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The Gospel of John tells us that standing by the cross of Jesus was his mother Mary. It's interesting that there is no mention of Mary in this situation, bewailing and lamenting beneath the cross as the women who accompany Jesus on the way to Calvary. Only her silence is transmitted to us. Mary was silent at the moment of the birth of Jesus, and in John's Gospel, she is silent at the moment of his death. Like others around her, Mary didn't cry out, "My son, you have served others. Why don't you save yourself too?" She didn't even ask Jesus, "Son, why have you done this to me?" as she did when she lost him in the temple for 3 days. In this moment, Mary is silent. But to interpret her silence under the cross as the language of one who is only sad, afflicted, and sorrowful would be incorrect. For while Mary grieved deeply the death of her son, she stood under the cross in hope. She shared not only death with her son, but also hope in the resurrection. That is why on Calvary, Mary is not just the mother of sorrows, but she is also the mother of hope, because she believed in the promises of God. She believed that Jesus was the Messiah, the Son of God. St. Paul, in his letter to the Romans, describes Abraham, who is the father of faith, as having been one in hope who believed against hope. I like that term, and I think we can apply that very same term to Mary beneath the cross. In hope, she believed against hope. That's rather a strange term, but let me explain. Let me explain to you what it means to hope against hope. It means that without having any reason whatsoever for hope, in a situation that, humanly speaking, is entirely hopeless, one never ceases to hope. One believes more in God than in the evidence of the facts. It means constantly acknowledging to yourself that God is faithful, and trusting that no matter what, God is always there for you. It means that even when in vain you have done everything you can to change a difficult situation, you still have something more important and greater to do. Something that will keep you occupied and prevent you from falling into despair. And that is to patiently endure to the end. In an unexplainable way, which probably she was unable to explain to herself, Mary believed that God was able to raise her son even from the dead. This was the great thing that Mary did as she hoped beneath the cross. All the more reason why she is ready to help us do the same. In the book of Lamentations, we find the song of a soul who is undergoing a trial of utter desolation. And You can almost apply this to Mary as well beneath the cross. Just listen to what the afflicted person says. I am the one familiar with affliction. God has led and guided me into the darkness, not light. He has walled me in so I cannot escape. And when I shout for help, he shuts out my prayer. I thought, I have forgotten what happiness is. My lasting hope in God is lost. And yet suddenly, right at the point where there seems to be total despair, there is this unexpected turn, like the last two lines of a sonnet, because the one who has been lamenting and in desolation suddenly has this surge of hope. And in the last few lines, this believer says to himself, surely God's mercies are not over, so I shall put my hope in God. For the Lord will not reject anyone forever. If he bring grief, he will have compassion. Maybe there is hope. I shall put my hope in God. What glory for God and what comfort for us to be able to say that these words each time when we are on the brink of despair. The psalmist says in Psalm 40, I waited for God, and then he stooped to me. One of the psalmists says, who thanks to hope, has experienced resurrection. I wait for the Lord. My soul waits in his word, I hope. The letter to the Hebrews urges us, let us seize the hope set before us. So, my brothers and sisters, let us turn to Mary, who is our hope, who is set before us in the icon of our Mother Perpetual Help, who stayed close to the cross of her Son, hoping against all hope. Let us turn to her. Let us invoke her powerful name often as Mother of Hope. And if at this moment you are distressed or tempted to discouragement, then take hope and repeat to yourself, surely God's mercies are not over, and I shall put my hope in God.